The Port Authority is a tool that companies have to help them get their projects done. I think we're something that could be utilized more. If I could know that I helped Lorain County to improve and become more economically viable, that'd be wonderful.
Welcome to episode 94 of the LorainCounty.com Insights Podcast. I'm your host, Ed Skimmon. I'm proud to begin with a thank you to the LorainCounty.com champion sponsors who support this and many community projects. Lorain County Commissioners, Lorain County JVS, Lorain County Community College, Community Foundation of Lorain County, WOBL Radio, and Emerge Inc. Today, we are talking with Jim Miller, Executive Director of the Lorain County Port Authority. Join us as Jim talks about the mission and impact of the Port Authority, including tools like bond financing and sales tax exemption programs. Jim talks about the Midway Mall redevelopment project, the Port Authority's support for Ford's new electric vehicle plant in Sheffield Village, and the importance of collaboration in driving regional economic growth. He also shares insight into his leadership approach, professional journey, and personal interests. Port authorities play a vital role in strengthening local economies by helping communities finance major projects, attract new investments, and create jobs. They give cities and counties flexible tools to support development that might not otherwise move forward, which leads to long-term growth and improved quality of life. In Lorain County, the County Port Authority has been a key partner in advancing redevelopment, supporting major employers, and helping move important community projects forward. Here is my conversation with Jim Miller.
I'm Jim Miller. I am the Executive Director of the Lorain County Port Authority.
Welcome, Jim. Thanks for joining us and sharing your insights. Can you give us an overview of the Lorain County Port Authority?
Sure. The Lorain County Port Authority was founded in April of 2001. And we're not to be confused with the Lorain City Port Authority, which was founded in 1964 and runs the port. We were founded under Revised Code Section 4582, which creates port authorities. And basically it says that any municipality, county, township can form a port authority. Our job or body, corporate and politic, which means we can issue bonds or like a government entity. Our job is to enhance, foster, and promote 7 different areas. And they're like transportation, economic development, housing, recreation, government services, education, culture, and research. So how we do that, the Lorain County Port Authority has 2 different programs that we do. One, we do bond financing. The easiest way I could say is if you're a company that wants to add on to your factory, or you're an entity, let's say you want to build a rec center, or for a city, or you want to build a amphitheater to hold events, you can come to us and we will go out into the marketplace. We'll issue Port Authority bonds. An underwriter will market them and sell them. Then we'll take the proceeds from the bonds and loan it for the project. That's what we do. And there are several projects in the county that we've done. We did the Bendix headquarters. We've done the Riddell football helmet factory. We hold the bonds on Wesleyan Village. We did the bonds at Kendall and Oberlin. We did the bonds and lent the money for the new Ross Exposition Center at the fairgrounds. And most recently, we did the amphitheater at Rocket on the River Port Authority. So those are some of the projects that we've done in that regard. Another thing that we do is we have a capital lease sales tax exemption program. Port authorities in the state of Ohio do not pay sales tax. So if you are involved in a project that's very intensive with materials and building, like building a big facility, you can take advantage. We have a way to take advantage of doing that. And we actually assisted Ford in their new plant in Sheffield Village. It's under construction now. We're a partner in that project. Also, the Bendix headquarters fell under that too. In that regard, if somebody has a large project that they're going to expend a lot of money in goods and materials, it may be beneficial for them to come talk to us. That's what we do, basically.
You mentioned the difference between the County Port Authority and the Lorain City Port Authority. Yeah. Can you clarify for listeners like how the difference is between those two plus the community economic development and the land bank?
So the way it works is if you're a port authority, you're only able to service projects in your geographic area. The Lorain City Port Authority was founded by the city of Lorain in 1964. They are limited to the city of Lorain. Lorain County Port Authority can do a project anywhere, including Lorain, but we have an agreement that we share fees with Lorain. If we did that, I would talk to them first. So we get along pretty well. And as I said, we're financing the amphitheater for them because of the way their bond levy, the city levy, and the way they get financed. It made it more sense for us to do it for them. And they've helped out on projects that we actually finance. The same areas as it was recently bought by a company out of Minnesota. And we and the Lorain Port Authority helped finance it.
Could you describe your role and responsibilities as the director of the Port Authority?
Sure. My job is to, first of all, talk with potential companies that we could help. I try to get out and market and do as much as I can in that regard. And then when it comes time to bringing them in, we talk about the project and what we can do. And then I work with my legal counsel and my financial counsel to figure out if this project is beneficial to the county, whether or not we want to do it, and how we will structure the project.
Before we get into specific projects at a big picture level, what are the long-term impacts that the Port Authority is working to achieve for the county and its residents?
For the long term, I think what we'd like to do is improve the economic ability of the county to function. There's several big projects that are in the area that will be help with where we can help with that. But I think our other goal is that if we can increase jobs in the county, that would be great, and help the county grow. And also with jobs comes housing. Because if you're going to bring a lot of people into work, you need to have housing. And so we're working a lot of projects, most recently in the housing area.
In 2024, the Port Authority purchased the Midway Mall and is looking to convert the former mall into a health, wellness, and industrial innovation park with a private developer. Could you give us an update on these efforts and why redeveloping the mall is important to the local economy?
Well, as you know, the developer, Industrial Commercial Properties, has a project to buy the mall from us. We don't own the entire mall. We own the inner ring of it and Sears Auto. But anyway, the mall is central. It's the front door to the county, basically. You come into a county on the turnpike, you're going to get off at Route 57. Interstate 90, which is just north of it, is right there on 57. So it is the front door to the county. And we want to develop that into something that is viable and appealing to people when they come into the county. Industrial Commercial Properties has a contract to buy the mall. And ICP is currently doing their due diligence. Their due diligence period expires December 1st. So we'll see what's going to go on after that. They have different models and things that they're looking at, which would be the best use of the property.
There's been a lot of discussion lately about preparing the area around the airport for a mega site, or as I heard this morning, called the Great Lakes Innovation District. Could you update us on the Port Authority and the ways in which you could be involved in this project?
First of all, a lot of the property around the north side of the airport is owned by the county. And the county can't move or sell that property. It has very distinct rules. One is they have to put up for bid and they have to have so many bidders and then they have to give it to the highest bid. But the statute also permits the county to transfer the property to the Port Authority. And the Port Authorities don't have those requirements in selling property. So they can sell it to the best bidder, which they view best, but they don't have to put it up for public bid. Not saying that we wouldn't, but we'd probably ask for a request for proposals, RFQs, and RFPs, and we would go from there, but not necessarily are we bound by the bids.
So potentially a large project wants to locate there. Potentially the county could transfer the property to you. So even if somebody wanted to pay more for it, you could say, look, the better use of this property is for this.
Yes. And then we would be looking at the metrics that we think are important. And again, usually it's high paying, good jobs that are going to support the county. Every project I do, if it's a company, the question asked is how many jobs are going to be created. Just, I think the Team Neo and Jobs Ohio, that's a question they ask of every single one. How many full-time equivalent jobs are going to be created in this project?
You mentioned housing. Several residential projects have come before the Port Authority for tools like bond financing and temporary sales tax exemption. At a big picture level, what's the Port Authority's approach to housing and what outcomes are you working towards for residents in the communities?
We want to support quality housing that's going to be an asset to the community. Some of the projects that we are looking at are middle income housing. I think we approved one of them this past week. It's got grants that are going to be done by the Ohio Housing Finance Authority, and we're going to be part of the capital stack in that. And it's not low income housing, it's actually medium income housing. I think the apartments in that project start at $900 a month for a one bedroom. We're not talking low income, but we're talking about housing necessary for working families who need a good place to live.
We know that economic development requires collaborative efforts from local, county, state, and governments to nonprofit and for-profit economic development organizations. What's your approach to collaboration and how does working with partners help you achieve your vision?
I was talking to someone today, and we'll talk about the Ross Exposition Center and the amphitheater. We partnered with the county commissioners because the county helped us on those projects by agreeing to pledge the non-tax revenues of the county as a backup for the bonds. And in doing so, when you go to sell bonds, if they're rated, you have certain buyers who will go buy them, let's say Vanguard or the big bond funds. But if they're not rated, they used to call those junk bonds, and those bonds are more difficult to sell. By partnering with the county, we were able to get the bonds rated, which allowed us to get a much more favorable interest rate for the borrowers. So that's one thing that we partner with. We also partner with different communities. I was talking with the municipality today about partnering with them to do a bond issuance to help build a recreation center. Not a center, but a facility. I think it's really more like a field house, but things like that. We can also partner with the communities. I said this before, I can build a fire station. And then I've talked to some townships about that. It's just looking to make sure they have the funds available to support the bonds. And our financing, the big benefit for our financing, to tell you, is that it's the useful life of the project, which in a large project is about 20 years. It could be 25, 30, but mostly 20. And it's a fixed rate financing. So you're not going to have to refinance after 10 years and go find more financing. Most banks maybe will give you 10, 12 years, but you're going to have a rate adjustment in there. Ours is fixed. And if you don't like it, usually in about 8 or 10 years, there's a mechanism built into it to where you can refinance. So it's good for that. The bad part about it is the transaction costs are high for my financing. It's much cheaper with a bank. We have to hire bond counsel and go sell bonds in the open market, and that costs a lot of money. But if you're doing a large project, let's say $10, $20 million, is well worth it.
What is the threshold that flips it to making it worth it?
The sweet spot is $3 to $6 million. Obviously, we did the Bendix headquarters, which was $74 million. But we can do more, but Bendix was a rated credit. They had their own rating because they're such a big company. But yeah, at least $3 million, I would tell people, is what you're looking at.
How is the Lorain County Port Authority funded?
We are funded totally from fees we generate from those deals. I get no tax money whatsoever. So if I don't do deals, I don't have a job. So I do have a vested interest to make sure your deal goes forward. But I do tell people, for the most part, we've done quite well. And I just want to see them succeed. If they don't finance with us, that's fine.
What trends are you seeing locally?
I've seen a lot of trends in companies realizing that we have this capital lease sales tax program and builders wanted to take advantage of that. In some projects, I mentioned the Ford project, but that was us being able to assist them in that project, and without them paying sales tax was what put that project over the finish line. Because Ford was still wondering if they could do it and if it was going to come in and whether they could afford to do it. But since we were able to save them quite substantial amount of money, they were able to put it over the finish line.
Let's switch over and talk about you. What's your background and what led you to the Lorain County Port Authority?
I guess my background is I'm an attorney. I practiced law in Cleveland for 25 years. I did financings, both public and private. Worked for a large law firm, Calfee, Harder and Griswold, and Buckley King. And I got to know the people in Lorain County. And when this position was open, it's a public law, that's bonds. And so I was well suited for it. It's a funny thing that I like to joke about. When I first came to work here, my assistant was going through files and my business card from my law firms kept showing up in all these files because I had taken part of the project, because I had represented Lorain National Bank and the Kendall and Oberlin project. I had represented several of the borrowers, and we had actually done Port Authority financing. So it's funny. I was connected with the Port Authority, but not directly connected. I came here 5 years ago. And I really enjoy it. I enjoy working with the people of the community. And in my whole career, I've always enjoyed seeing people achieve their goals, helping companies achieve their goals. And that's been the best part about my job. Sometimes it can get long and hard. I've worked on some really tedious, difficult deals in my career, but that's probably the best part, what keeps me going all along.
In the time you've been with the Port Authority, what are you most proud of accomplishing?
I'm probably most proud of accomplishing our financing, like I said, doing the Ford plant. I like seeing the plants and our projects that are successful. We cut the ribbon at the Exposition Center at the Fairgrounds, which is a beautiful building, and we were able to assist and help them make that dream come to reality.
What would you still like to accomplish?
Well, there's a lot of projects, and we talk about the mega site. I'd like to see that up and coming because that would be wonderful. I'd like to see several other projects, other companies succeed and get larger. And just if I could know that I helped Lorain County, which I'm a native Lorain Countian, to improve and become more economically viable, that'd be wonderful.
How would you describe your leadership style? What or who has influenced your leadership approach the most?
I always want to get the best people in positions where they could succeed. And not every job is suited for every person. You may have a wonderful clerical person, but they don't want to be out front of everybody because that's not their style. And I try to understand that. I also, when I talk about my leadership style, I had a mentor, a gentleman who was a very dynamic person. And he would always say things, if it's going to be, it's up to me. So always remember, you are the one that's responsible. I also said I was a lawyer, but before I was a lawyer, I was an engineer. I used to work in the aerospace industry. And one of the things I learned in the aerospace industry is nobody wants excuses. They want results. And it's the same thing in law. When they hire you, they want the result. They don't want to hear your excuses of why you couldn't get it for them. And so you have to take that and realize, I got to figure out how to get it done. In engineering, there were all kinds of problems. Things wouldn't fit right on the builds for the airplane, but we had to figure out how to work around it and how to get it to work to where it was safe and to where it was completed.
Outside of work, what are your hobbies and interests, and how do they help recharge you?
I like to ski. I like to play golf. I have 2 young daughters that are 13 and 11. I spend a lot of time doing events with them. I was at a girls' basketball game last night. They live with their mother in Rocky River, so I get to drive to Rocky River all the time. I'm also an Ohio State football fan. I went there, and I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. I'm season ticket holders for both.
One's tougher than the other.
Yeah, one's a lot tougher than the other. It's sort of funny. I go to the Ohio State games, and if they throw a pass, I expect the guy to catch it. When they throw the pass to the Browns game, it's like, oh, I don't know if he's going to catch it or not. But yeah, so I've got tickets in both, and I do attend. I don't go to all games, but I go to most of them.
Finally, where can people go to get more information about the Port Authority and connect with you?
The Port Authority has a website, and it's on loraincounty.us. The county website will take you to it. Or you can contact us here at our office, and phone number is 440-328-2326.
Thank you, Jim, for joining us and sharing your insights.
Not a problem.
Thank you for listening to the LorainCounty.com Insights Podcast. Each episode, we share conversations with the people shaping life in Lorain County, from business and government to education, nonprofits, healthcare, and entertainment. Be sure to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. You can also visit LorainCounty.com to discover local events, volunteer opportunities, and more community resources. If you know someone who's making a difference in Lorain County, send us a note at podcast@LorainCounty.com. We would love to share their story and insights. Special thanks to our producer, Leah Gerke, and to you for listening. This has been the LorainCounty.com Insights Podcast, conversations with the people shaping Lorain County.